The 599th edition of the Four Corners podcast starts right now.
This is the Four Corners podcast.
Walton ready on his second attempt. That one is no good. They battle for it. Loose ball. Recovered Marvin. He scores. 17 seconds left. And he was fouled. Here we go. Lawson with a runner. No. The rebound. Hansbrough at the gun. Got it.
They were 4 for 24.
Hansbrough on a switch on Paulus. A deep three. And Green rips down the rebound in traffic. 4-on-1.
What a great job. What a terrific job in transition. I mean, you couldn't plan that any better as a coach.
Tipped away by Johnson. It's loose. Page. Johnson.
They're dancing in the arms. They're high-fiving. They're celebrating. They're going bananas on Franklin Street.
Pass to Britt, 15 seconds to play. Up high to Page, gets a screen from Meeks. Page driving in on the left, high off the glass for two. Louisville with 7 seconds. Jones has it, goes left corner, Black's here for three. Back iron, 1 second to play. Stick up, no! Carolina wins it! The Tar Heels win it! 72-71. 6 seconds to go. Pinson comes front court. Pinson to May for the win. Got it! Luke May! He got it! 0.3 of a second! Luke May gives Carolina the 75-73 lead. Are you kidding me?
Inside 30 overall. Love. Top of the key. Oh! Big time delivery.
Here are your hosts, Josh Marlowe and Anthony Pagnotta.
Hello and welcome into another edition of the Four Corners podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services. Just Josh here with you guys for this edition of the show. Hubert Davis met with the media on Wednesday ahead of Friday night's exhibition against BYU. So we're here to recap that press conference. I got 9 clips that we're going to play and we'll react to here on tonight's edition of the show. Before we do that, though, we start every edition of the podcast, as we always do, with the pod thought of the day, which is brought to you by our good friends over at Legacy Arcade and Casino. And Legacy Arcade is where you can win cash prizes playing roulette, blackjack, your favorite slot games, and multiplayer fish games. You can also win cash playing your favorite arcade games. And if you go to their website, if you scan that QR code and put in the promo code HEELS, that'll earn you $100 in free match play upon registering your account. Good news about Legacy Arcade is that they are safe and secure, and they offer 24-hour customer support. There's immediate redemption to your bank account or your credit card that is on file. They accept all major credit cards, Skrill and ACH, with Apple Pay coming very, very soon. Let's get to that pod thought of the day now. We go to Harry Truman for that thought. That thought is, quote, "The successful person has enthusiasm. Good work is never done in cold blood. Heat is needed to forge anything," end quote. And I think one thing that's come out about this group is that there's an enthusiasm to play with each other, for each other, and with each other. And that should translate to a good product on the court. Hopefully we'll see that kind of take shape, take form on Friday night against BYU. There's just a different energy around this team, led by its head coach, but really it's the players that have created this energy where they like playing with one another, they like competing with one another, and they like pushing each other to get better. So you like that enthusiasm, you like seeing enthusiasm, and Carolina certainly has it right now in the preseason. Hopefully that carries on over into the regular season. So let's go ahead, not waste any more time. let's get to tonight's edition of the podcast, which is centered around that press conference that Hubert Davis held on Wednesday at the Smith Center. A lot of this will be focused on BYU. And we'll start out with him being asked about the benefit of playing in a public exhibition as opposed to the secret scrimmages that these programs used to hold, which were held in private.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, normally it's been, behind closed doors and private, and you have more of a hands-on approach in regards to, hey, let's look at going up against a zone or going up against a press, or let's do situational stuff. And so, but there's huge benefits in playing games like this. I mean, obviously playing against such a really good opponent at BYU, it gives us an opportunity to be able to take a clear look at us on things that we're doing well, things that we need to improve on before the regular season starts. The same thing that happens in the NBA, and so it gives us a chance to do that. I think it's also really beneficial for us to go on the road. It really, to take a road trip, to be on a true road game, there's a lot that you can learn about your team, and it's something that is invaluable to be able to learn that prior to the regular season starting.
If coaches were being truthfully honest, they would still probably tell you they prefer the secret scrimmages because there was more control and you could work on certain sets, certain situations, go for as long as you want, so on and so forth, where this is a 40-minute game. But there's also the benefit of playing in front of people. You're playing in front of a crowd. It's going to be officiated like a normal game is going to be officiated. And more importantly, this is good for college basketball. Right now, the majority of the sports world is focused on football. You're at the heart of the NFL season. You're in the heart of the college football season. Not too many folks are thinking about college basketball, but this will have a chance. There will be a lot of high-profile scrimmages over the weekend, exhibitions over the weekend that'll get the sport on the minds of people. And so I think it's a win-win for everybody. Maybe the coaches still prefer those secret scrimmages, but they get a chance to learn about their team in an environment. It gets fan interest peaking before, we're typically ready for the college basketball season. And so this has been, I think, one of the best things that has come to the sport in totality in the last handful of years. Speaking of, Friday night, Hubert Davis was asked, what will he be looking for specifically from his team?
Specifically, the huge bullet points that we've talked about and identified every day since we've come together as a team. From a defensive standpoint, us being, and I've been clear and definitive, like we've got to be a really good defensive team, good rebounding team, for us to have a chance to be the best team that we can possibly become. Looking at our pace, we play at tremendous pace, taking care of basketball, doing a much better job this year, getting to the offensive glass. And so those are big picture, very important things that I'm looking for out of the scrimmage on our exhibition game on Friday.
No surprise here that he mentioned defense and rebounding. I thought the pace was very interesting as well that he mentioned that. Last year, remember, he said, I wanted to be the fastest team in the country, foul line to foul line. What was Carolina not? They were not the fastest team in the country. We've seen the blue-white exhibition, and we saw the Cherokee scrimmage from a week ago. We've seen highlights from that. And in those two settings, Carolina has played up and down. So does that translate when they get onto the court against a different team? Or are they going to kind of want to play in the half court? But not surprised he went with defense and rebounding, two areas that Carolina is looking to improve upon from a year ago. And they've got a roster that I think could be really good defensively, and their size should suggest they are a better rebounding team than they were last season. Now, with this being an exhibition, this game is not going to count per se. You can kind of equate this to the NFL in the preseason, where you don't really run any plays that you're going to run in the actual season. A lot of it is dummied down. It's just basic, blocking, tackling, and so on and so forth. And so Hubert Davis was asked, with this game not accounting, will they hold anything back against the Cougars?
No, I don't think there's a situation where you hold things back. I mean, I think there's situational stuff that we haven't practiced yet. And so in that scenario, you are playing and you are playing what you have practiced at that point. And so that's what we'll do against BYU, and that'll give us a good indication on the things that we need to work on moving forward.
Yeah, I don't think Carolina's going to come out here and throw the whole kitchen sink, but this is a chance for Carolina to make a statement. A lot of procrastinators around this roster, around the head coach, around the state of the program, the direction of the program. BYU, the new kid on the block, made the Sweet 16 a year ago. They had A.J. DeBanza, who went to BYU over Carolina and Kansas. So I think Carolina's going to come out and treat this like a regular game. I think it'll be scouted the same way. They'll prepare for it the same way. And I think they'll compete as if, the game matters because they are keeping score. And let's face it. If Carolina goes out there and gets blasted, I don't think I'll be on here saying, guys, it was an exhibition. It doesn't matter. We'll be back here talking about the issues that we saw with the game. And so that's the beauty of these things, man, is it just gives you a great chance to learn so much about your team, about your roster, about your rotation, and really figure out where you need to improve before the season does officially get underway. All right, so with the game being in Salt Lake City, of course, means that Carolina is going to be playing in an elevated setting. And Henry Visar kind of talked about this when he was at ACC Tip-Off, but his experience playing at BYU. But don't tell that to Hubert Davis, because he said, I'm not going to mention anything to my team about playing in the elevation.
I haven't talked to the team about it, and I'm not going to. A number of teams play in Salt Lake City. So regardless of the elevation, you still have to get back on defense. You still have to box out. Still have to set a screen. You'll still have to knock down that open jumper. So, regardless of what the elevation is, the responsibilities of our players on the floor, on both ends of the floor, never change.
Very Belichickian, like right there from the head coach of Carolina basketball. Doesn't matter the condition, do your job. Doesn't matter you're playing, in an elevated setting. You got to run back. You got to play defense. You got to box out. You got to contest that shot. You got to make that layup. You got to do all the things. Just because you're playing an elevation doesn't give you a way out, doesn't make you an excuse if you don't do your job. I like hearing that from Hubert Davis. I like hearing that from my head coach. That kind of sets the tone for the toughness he wants his team to have mentally and physically, and hopefully that carries over in a big way on Friday night. And then the last thing about BYU specifically that we'll play from head coach Hubert Davis's presser from Wednesday regards around the freshmen and just how important these exhibition settings are for the newcomers to college basketball.
It's important for them to get out there on the floor, but these guys have been exposed to a number of different situations. It's not like when I was playing in an NBA arena for the first time was very different for me. These guys have done it since high school. They do it in AAU, and so the moment is never too big for them, and actually it's the exact opposite. They run towards it, and so it'll be exciting for all of our players to be able to play on Friday.
Yeah, look, AAU, and if you're a McDonald's All-American or a Jordan Brand Classic guy, you do get to play in some pretty unique settings growing up. There's still nothing like playing in your first college basketball setting. This one's going to be in an NBA arena. It's going to have a different feel, a different vibe. It'll probably make the game feel bigger than it is, although it's still an exhibition. So, again, this is just another benefit. For Caleb Wilson, he's not going to be fazed by this. For Derek Dixon, Isaiah Dennis, maybe they get a little wrapped up in all the feelings and emotions that go into playing your first college basketball game unofficially. And so this is just another chance to really learn about your group, kind of get your freshmen settled and accustomed to what playing basketball at Carolina will be like, playing basketball in the ACC will be like over the next 4 to 5 months. All right, now we'll get to some more generalities about the team and the roster before we do get out of this edition of the podcast. Preseason practice opened about a month ago. It was like the last full week of September when Carolina broke camp in Chapel Hill. And Hubert was asked, what area has he seen the team improve the most during that time span?
I've seen the most improvement defensively. That's just number one on my list, is for us to be a really good defensive team. And I've seen improvement in regards to individual one-on-one defense and the importance of communication and talking early, loud, clear, and constant team defense-wise. And so that's the area that I've seen the most improvement.
You don't know how happy that is to hear me say that, or hear him say that. Coaches don't talk about improvement defensively unless they believe it, because it doesn't matter what sport, football, basketball, hockey, baseball, every coach is going to stress wanting to be good on that end of the floor, that area of the specific game, because it's really hard to win and compete for championships unless you stop other teams from scoring. And so I think this has been a non-negotiable for Hubert Davis, if we're being quite honest. I think there's a reason why he put together the roster that he put together, just so Carolina could just be that committed to being a defensive force and being a team that can win games with their defense like they did 2 years ago. That's what made Carolina such a threat. You know, when they won that ACC regular season title, when they won that 1 seed, it wasn't because they could score. It was because they could win games in the 60s. They could win games in the 70s. This roster is built to put the ball in the basket. This roster is built to score 80 points night in, night out. But there's going to be a night where that doesn't happen. And can you count on your defense to get stops? Can you get down in a stance? And can you grind out a game? And so I think the fact that Hubert Davis is telling you that's where he's seen the most improvement, I don't think he has any reason to lie to you. And I think that kind of gets me a little even more excited to see just what this team looks like on Friday night. Now, if you listen to the last edition of the podcast that Anthony and I did, where we did the what to watch for this exhibition, we led that podcast off with an update from head coach Hubert Davis on the status of Luka Bogovac, who has been officially cleared by the NCAA, but is still awaiting to get full clearance by the university. And I'll just let you hear straight from the head coach's mouth on the status of the international pro, Luka Bogovac.
From an NCAA standpoint, yes. Institutionally wise, we're working on it, and we're making progress.
Do you expect him to play on Friday in Salt Lake City?
Possibly.
Again, I said it the other day, and I'll say it now. This is the most important thing Carolina Athletics needs to take care of between now and November 3rd. Nothing else is more important. He's that important to the overall success of this team this year, especially for a head coach that's in a make-or-break year. He needs Luka Bogovac on the floor as much as possible. I don't know what the holdup is from the university side. How do you get cleared by the NCAA, but the institution refuses to officially make him eligible? Also, you're paying him to play basketball. Right now, you're just writing empty checks because you're paying him to do nothing. He's not there to get a degree. He's there to play basketball. So hopefully this thing gets resolved. I'd love to see him on the court on Friday night. If not, next Wednesday against Winston-Salem State before Carolina takes the floor against Central Arkansas. But this needs to be resolved. It should have already been resolved. It needs to be resolved. But there was the update straight from the head coach's mouth, that, of course, being Hubert Davis. 2 more sound bites for you guys, and we'll get out of this edition of the podcast. You know, Isaiah Dennis, did not play in the blue-white game, but was seen on the floor in Cherokee last weekend. So Hubert Davis provided just a health update on Isaiah Dennis and just what it's been like coaching him so far during his freshman season.
Now practicing full practice, starting late last week. Still limited in some sense, but being able to participate in every drill during practice. And so it's nice to have Isaiah out there. I know that, last year throughout high school, he had broke his finger and then he re-injured it as soon as he got here. And so obviously a very gifted player, but just a great kid. Just such a joy to be around. He loves being a part of a team, loves being here, and I'm so thankful that he's healthy enough to be able to participate fully in practice now.
Yeah, don't know what Isaiah Dennis's role will be this year. Play probably a lot in November and December. Probably doesn't play a whole lot in conference play. I loved what the future holds for him. I think for a guy that's going to be here 2 to 3 years, will be a big part of what Carolina can do in 2026, 2027, and beyond. Hopefully, we can just get him 100% healthy. He can have whatever type of role that he has this year. He's going to put the ball in the basket at some point for Carolina. He seems like a good kid, a wonderful kid, and I think he'll be someone that Carolina fans will grow to love and appreciate just as much as his head coach does. One last piece of sound before you guys, and we'll shut down this edition of the show. It was a unique question that Hubert Davis was asked. I forget the reporter that asked it specifically to him, but he was asked, how do you keep the legacy of Coach Smith alive in a day and time where Coach Smith has now been passed away for over a decade? These players did not even grow up, seeing him on the sidelines or see him attending games like we can still see with Roy Williams. And so Hubert spoke about the importance of keeping Coach Smith's legacy alive in Chapel Hill.
Well, I mean, that's a message that is preached every day to these guys. It's, the foundation of, what this program is about. It's about relationships and how it all ties together. One of the many reasons that I love, our coaching staff is that, all of us didn't play for the same coach here at Carolina. And so, the communication and what we give to the players, we really give them the full body experience of what this place is like, but from different angles. As much as Carolina is Carolina, I'm a different person than Coach Williams. Coach Williams is a different person than Coach Guthridge, and Coach Guthridge is a different person than Coach Smith. And so I think it's really cool that we can give our shared experiences from a different perspective to our players and allow them to understand what this place has always meant and what it's like.
It's just hard to imagine telling someone about Carolina basketball, experiencing Carolina basketball, and not thinking about Dean Smith. And I'm someone that never watched him coach. By the time I started watching the program, he was well off into retirement because I grew up with Roy Williams. That's why I feel the way about Roy Williams that I'm sure most of my audience feels about Dean Smith. But as much as this is a player's program, Dean Smith's Carolina basketball. He's the one that established this great family. He's the one that, instilled so many principles and beliefs that we carry on with our basketball selves and then just our everyday walk of life. And that just shows you the impact of that he had on humanity. As great as a coach as he was a 10-time better human being. And as much as, here we focus on winning basketball games and competing for championships, being a better human is more important. And Hubert Davis was that. And the fact that, all the assistants are Carolina alums, but they all didn't play for Coach Smith. But they still, everything comes back to him. It just does. You got to thank Frank McGuire for hiring him, but everything of this program, everything of this university points back to Dean Smith. Dean Smith is Carolina. He embodies what it means to be a Tar Heel. He's the best example of what it means to be a Tar Heel. And so we're just blessed that we've got so many walking legends among us, whether it was Dean Smith or Roy Williams. Hopefully Hubert Davis can become that next one, because the thing that separates Carolina apart is that it all ties back to that one individual, and that man is Coach Smith. And it makes me happy to know and this is why I got passionate the other day about wanting Hubert Davis to be the guy. No one embodies more of what Carolina is in today than Hubert Davis. And that ties back to Coach Smith. His legacy stays alive through Hubert. And I want that legacy to live for as long as it can. And hopefully that's for this season and many, many more beyond it. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Four Corners Podcast. In the meantime, guys, we will direct you guys to the website, HeelToughBlog.com. Busy weekend for the website, where we'll have full coverage of the exhibition against BYU, a what to watch for article, a recap article will come after that, Carolina and Virginia. Anthony will have you covered with the availability report. the preview, and the recap as well. So make sure you get to the website. That's HeelToughBlog.com. The latest and the best coverage of Carolina basketball and Tar Heel football. As for the podcast, you guys know where to find us. Every major podcasting platform. Simply search the Four Corners Podcast and we'll pop up. There, we strongly encourage you guys to rate, review, and subscribe. That way you don't miss any audio editions of the show. If you're a video consumer of the podcast, the best way to keep up with us, like and follow us on Facebook at Heel Tough Blog, at YouTube at Heel Tough Blog, or at my personal Twitter at HTB_Josh. Once you like or follow any of those pages, you'll be notified the second that we go live talking Carolina basketball. So with that, guys, it is going to wrap up this edition of the show. I do want to thank everybody once again for watching and listening. And as always,